Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. I have a fun fold to share with you today, and it's a twisted easel card and it has a little surprise inside. So it's kind of like this when you pop it in the envelope, and it will fit into a standard envelope. And then when you take it out and you pop up this piece here, the little surprise is that there's a calendar. So it means that whoever you send this to will have your card on their desk for the entire year. And then when you look at it from the front, it's like this. So it's really pretty, and it's also using some of the new products from the January to June mini catalogue for 2022. Right, so let me go ahead and start with the supplies. So this is a piece of cardstock 11 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 5 1/2 down the middle. And then to get the easel, the twisted easel, we've put another score line down here. Now I'm just going to show you how you can do that score line, and I'm going to be using both, showing you how to do that with both the paper cutter as well, paper trimmer, sorry, as well as the scoreboard. So you're going to put your score line in a halfway mark at 5 1/2 to start with, and then making sure that you've got your cutting blade out the way, because you're going to use your scoring blade. Then you're going to line up on the cutting groove, which is here, the end of the score line that's halfway along your card. And then you're going to line the other end up. Let's move that in so you can see. In fact, maybe I'll do it this way, and then you'll be able to see even better. And then you're going to line the opposite corner up over that cutting groove as well. And then you can use your score blade to put the score in. If you don't have a score blade, like I couldn't find mine when I came to do the video, you can take your bone folder and you can pop it down the middle here, and you can put your score line in like that. So that's how to put that score in using your paper trimmer. Now if you have a scoreboard, we're going to put again, make sure that that middle score line is in at 5 1/2 there. And then we're going to use the score tool, and you just pick any of the grooves. It doesn't matter which it is, but just pick any of the grooves and pop your score tool in and draw it down toward you there. And then we're going to line up, because I put mine in the 7, I'm going to put that corner of my cardstock in the 7 groove, and I'm going to bring my score tool down until the score line at this edge is hovering over the same groove as 7 in my case. And then I can put in my score line like that. So that's the main reason that you bring this down, is so that you know which is the right groove, and you're not sort of trying to guess, well, is it one to the right, is it one to the left? You know exactly which your groove is. So when you've got your pieces there, you can then pop your fold in, making sure that all the edges are nicely lined up. And then you're going to turn the diagonal fold basically inwards So technically it's kind of into the card, but actually it's going to go like that when it's popped up. So that's how we do our card. So the other supplies that I've got is a piece of the designer series paper, hand penned, and I really love this because you can see that it's got really delicate, literally hand-drawn flowers and coloured in, and they're just so lovely and delicate. So I chose one of those, and that's where I got my colours from. So I've got my Highland Heather, which is here, and the Balmy Blue, which is here as well. So that was my colour inspiration. I could just have easily chosen, I think this is probably Daffodil Delight, and then the green I think is Garden Green, or I could have used that with the blue. But as I say, I just took two of the colours, and that was my starting point. So, oh, excuse me, sounds like I got a little frog in my throat today. So this is a quarter sheet of cardstock, and it measures 5.25 by 4. Now you don't have to try and remember all the dimensions that I'm giving you, because the information will be on my blog post associated with this video. So you're just going to look below the video, and there'll be a link to my blog, and there you'll be able to find all the information that you need. So that is two of my pieces, and then I am going to attach them to the base, the part that is not scored at the top. And I'm not using any dimensionals or anything. You can either use liquid glue or Stampin' Seal, but you don't want a lot of thickness on this part. So there's 4 of our pieces, or 3 of our pieces down together. Now my front pieces, I cut a second piece of cardstock, and it is slightly smaller than the piece I used here, and it's smaller by 1/8 of an inch. And then I have just cut it diagonally, exactly the same as, if you like, I did my score line here, except instead of using my scoring blade, I used the cutting blade. And these pieces are going to go on the front of the card. So I'm going to line them up to make sure that I've got the right side, and then I'm going to move my base card out of the way, pop that back, and I'm going to use the Eden's Garden stamp set, and they've got such pretty delicate images here, and they're using the oh gosh, it's escaped my memory, distinctive style, where the stamp is actually created with like different depths, and so that you get the different sort of tones or tints of color with just doing one stamp. That will make a bit more sense when I actually stamp it in a minute. And then some lovely greetings in a lovely font. Those of you who follow me know that I do love different scripts and fonts, and I love stamp sets that have got images as well as greetings, because I like to use just one stamp set if I possibly can to create my card. So that's my stamp sets, and I'm going to do tone on tone stamping. And again, I've done a video on tone, but really it just simply means I'm going to use the same color ink. Would you believe the phone is now going? But I'm going to ignore it. The same color ink as card to put to stamp on. So I'm just going to gently load up my ink, and I think you can see that it's picked up what looks to be quite dark as well as light, and that's the distinctive method or design of this card, of these stamps rather. So I'm just going to stamp a couple of times or 3 times on these pieces, and I think you can again see that you get the different depths. If you can see here, the different depths of colour simply by one stamp. And I also have another piece I'm going to use to stamp, and this will become clear in a moment. This is one of my decorative front pieces, and I'm just going to stamp bang smack in the middle of it. And this is using I think it's called the Label Me Pretty punch on a piece of basic white card. While I have my ink out, I am going to stamp my greeting. Now, the Eden's Garden stamp set has a coordinating set of dies. Very, very pretty, with wreaths and this edging piece, which I've used, and I will put a link to that card on my blog post, so as you can see how I've used it. It also has this very attractive label piece, which I've got here, just cut out of basic white, and some very pretty little individual leaves using this die, and I've cut out some in the Highland Heather and some in the Balmy Blue. And this works beautifully. These set of dies works beautifully with the mini cut and emboss machine. So my greeting is hello there. Now, with this particular die, normally I would encourage you to stamp first and then cut out. However, if you look closely at the die, there isn't anywhere to look through to see that you've got your greeting, you know, centered up. So I found it much easier to go ahead and die cut and then stamp. And I just hope I don't get my head in shot. So forgive me if I do. I'm going to try my absolute best to line that up on there. Oh darn, look, I got overstamp. Now then, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to flip it over and use the other side. I cut a spare. You can always you can guarantee that if you're going to make a mistake, it's going to be on camera, so I cut a spare. So the reason I had that mark is I've got some ink on the surround of my stamp. So I am going to just wipe that off, and then I'm just going to try again. So this time I've got a tiny little bit of ink in that top corner, and I'm going to take that off and with my thumb, just so I don't have another accident, because I haven't got another spare cut piece. Okay, let's give it a go again. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Yay! Not bad at all. Okay. Oh, and while I've got my ink out, I'm just going to decorate up my envelope. So I just chose one of the little sort of leafy stamps just to stamp on my envelope like that. Okay, so we finished with the ink. I'm going to put that away, otherwise I'm going to end up covered in it. And we can then start putting together our card. Okay, so I have my 2 triangles which have been stamped and I'm going to attach them with some liquid adhesive. I'm just going to make sure that I put on my tips there just to make sure that they don't curl up, and then along like that. And I'm going to place them so that I get a border all the way around like that, and that it doesn't cross over that score line. So I'm actually going to have like a diagonal blue line showing as well. There we go, but you won't see it because of all the decoration. So I'm just putting to make sure I've got some on my tips like that, and then down and pop them down so that I have a nice border all the way around like that. So I'm happy with that. So now I'm down to decorating. So I'm using, she says, and I've lost one, but I'm going to go and fetch it out where it looks like I put it away and I can't find my doily, but here we go. I'm using the vellum, square vellum doilies. So pretty and very delicate. You can see, very pretty. Love them. And I'm going to have my card facing like this, and I'm going to lay this down so that that center hole is over the score line, and I want it to look like a diamond shape on the card. Now, because this is going to go up like this, I only am going to be sticking things onto this side of my doily, and I'm going to use a couple of mini glue dots on one side. And I'm just going to pick somewhere where there's quite a bit of vellum, although with all the decorative holes it does make it a weeny bit difficult to find them, but never mind. And again, I'm going to lay this down. Oh, do it the right way, Cindy. I'm going to lay this down so that it appears to be a diamond shape, that the hole's over the score line, and I'm just going to pop that down, and then that's going to stick. And what I particularly like is that when it's up, it's still got the diamond shape, which just gives it a little bit more of a visual texture. Then there's this piece that I did stamped earlier, and again I'm going to pop some glue dots on the bottom, what will be the bottom of it, like that. And I'm going to make sure that the middle here is over my score line. There we go. And so that bit pops up like that. And then I've got a couple of my cut pieces here. So I'm going to pop them toward, let's see, where would be a good place to put those. I'm thinking that I might pop them so that when they're like this, that they kind of come out the side and they'll show up a bit better then. So I'm going to use another couple of glue dots. I like using glue dots because they're not ever so thick, and you're able to put them exactly where you need them. So I've just popped them on top of one another and got them on my tool here, and I'm just going to just tuck them behind like that. There we go. I think that looks quite pretty because that's what you're going to see when they're poked up. Then my greeting. So we have my greeting here, and I want to position this so that it's centered on the two ends, not just centered on this piece. And I'm going to use mini dimensionals for that. So one either end and one in the middle. And I've just noticed that that little piece didn't come out when the die cut. And I'm also going to make sure that these points don't go below that blue piece, otherwise they'll get smooshed up when it goes into the envelope. There we go. I think I'm good there. And again, just keep looking at it just to make sure that you like the balance. I tied a bow. This is just a little white piece of white ribbon. I'm going to go ahead with, again, good old glue dots. And I'm going to pop that up here, because again, it'll kind of show up when we have it sitting up like that. Now I've got a couple of embellishments. Now these are new embellishments from the mini catalogue that's due out on January the 4th, and it's the iridescent rhinestones, and they catch the light beautifully. And then these really pretty little butterflies, which I think are just perfect for the flowery theme of my card. So there's big ones and little ones, so I'm going to use one of each, and that way I find that if I do that, I don't end up with lots of little ones or lots of big ones, that I end up with and it's roughly an equal amount. And then here we have these lovely iridescent rhinestones, and I am going to pop those in the middle of my flower on this piece here, again to catch as much light as possible. There's sort of three little berry looking things there, so I'm just going to put those there. There's my embellishments. And then the final piece is to put the calendar in. Now, if you just want to do the card without the calendar, what you'd then need to do is to make a little decorative piece that will hold this up. But mine is going to have a calendar. Oh, look. There's my doily that I couldn't find earlier. That's because they kind of blend in with the desktop. Oh, dearie me. So these are the little calendars that I have, and I buy them from Vippies, and this is the medium one. And I'm just going to layer it onto a piece of cardstock. Again, the measurements, dimensions and everything will be on my blog, which again, just follow the link below this video and you will find it there. And I'm going to add dimensionals. I'm going to use the larger ones this time. And because I want this to be really quite well popped up, so it acts as a good sort of stopper, I'm going to take the backs off of them, and then I am going to layer a second dimensional onto each one. I'm not going to bother lining them up, because that you can if you want, but no one's going to see. So as I say, I'm not going to line up, and take the backs off of those, and then we're going to pop it up. So I'm going to position my card at the angle that I would like it to be. And then I'm going to slide it in, making sure that the sticky doesn't touch the base. And I'm just going to line up the piece of card with the angle of the piece that's standing up, and I'm going to make sure that this doesn't go outside of the footprint of the card, the blue bit, the card base. So I'm just holding it. You can see that that's going to be inside the blue piece, so I can happily press that down, and I've got this nice, if you like, stopper. I don't know what else to call it other than a stopper, that's going to hold that in place. And so then you can fit it into the envelope like that, and you've got a lovely card to send to somebody. It can sit on their desk, and then they will be looking at it for the entire year. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit on the long side, but we had quite a few things going on and several techniques that I wanted to share. I certainly appreciate you joining me today. If you've enjoyed the video, please go ahead, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, you can subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button there in the middle. Thank you once again for joining me. Bye for now.